amazing human beings coming together for one sole purpose to talk about the power of surrender, the power that can happen in your life when you actually step out and let God step in. So tell us where you're coming from, tuning in from, Charles.
That's it. Our dining room. Puppy sitting. He's in his bed just chilling. So, uh, in the dining room in Fort Wayne, Indiana. How's that? Okay. Oh wow. I have all this stuff written down, and I'm just going to give up the appetizers. Okay. I just wrote this down because it came through me. Remember, everything that comes through us for a reason. And when I tell our story, it came through us. And it had a purpose. It had a reason. And look at us now. So if you hear him whining in the background, I apologize because he's getting antsy. But anyhow, I'm going to give up the appetizers. I'm not going. I'm going to wait. You're going to have to get the meat and the potatoes when you either come to Dallas or you buy the book. Okay. So and Elaine, I don't know that you're looking, but I've been looking all day because I've been touching bases here and there. I think you're right at or over 500 views for this amazing Surrender to Rise event that you put together. And I want to give all the praise and glory to our God for the messages that came through us today from those that were here before me. Hi, Barbara. I wasn't able to say hi to you, but I'll say to you hi now. Wow. You know, I'm gonna get a little spiritual. Elaine and I have talked about this many times. We've heard the word want in a lot of other messages today. God does not give us what we want. God gives us what we need. And sometimes he makes us want. And then you ever say, I want this, I want this, I want this, but those wants never happen. Well, there's a reason. Okay. If you want something, you want to buy it, you want it, you got the money, go buy it. But when it comes to God, God doesn't just give you what you want. He gives you what you need, and he makes you wait till you understand that I'm not going to get what I want. God understands my needs. And that being said, Elaine and I met on Facebook. Uh, what a beautiful one. I was like, whoa. I say that every time. It's like, hey, what did you think when you first saw it? It was like, whoa. Okay. And the next thing went through my mind was, and I was just looking for a friend. I seriously was just looking for a friend. I had lost my significant other on Christmas Eve, 2021. And if any of you all know, Elena lost her husband. We've talked about him through the course of the day on Christmas Eve, 2018. Little did I know any of that, but I'm just looking at her, and I was looking for a friend. I needed some friendship. I was really, really hurting, and that's where you'll get the meat and the potatoes in the book, or when I speak on stage in Dallas. Uh, but we started communicating from 5,667 miles away, and I was in need of a partner. I didn't want a partner. I pretty much had I'm almost 70 years old now. We met when I was 68 or 69, and she wasn't quite where she's at now. I won't give up her age.
I'm 50.
But like 19 years in between us based on when the birthday comes first. And I just was looking for a friend. But Elena was looking for a dear future husband. And I didn't know that. And so when I told her when we started communicating with each other, when I told her that I I don't want to die lonely because I have family members, my father, grandmothers that I watched die lonely. And here I am on my way to 70 years old. I just lost my significant other to cancer. after 16 year after a 12-year battle. I was depressed. I was in a bad place, and I was in need. So when I told her that I didn't want to die a lonely man, the first thing out of her mouth was, "Well, could it just be anybody?" And the answer is no, because God had a plan. See, I tell her that we joke about this, and I send her stuff all the time. Is like I'm that guy that's in that machine with a whole lot of other guys that are waiting to find a match. Okay, whether it's on the dating scene or the those sites or whatever. Which I used a few of those. Didn't work out very well. Man, what a trip! But I'm one of these guys waiting in line, but I'm in with a whole bunch of others in this box, and all of a sudden, here comes the claw, and it goes down, and it picks me up and takes me over and drops me into somebody searching for her dear future husband. You see, that's a divine intervention. We've been talking about, and I've been listening to these stories. What amazing messages all day long. Very touching, very powerful. But divine intervention, you have to be able to really know what that is, and that's God's love for us. The power that He has for listening to our prayers. I prayed not to be lonely. She prayed for her dear future husband. Right? She went through a whole lot. I I was able to I lived that and made some changes in my life to be able to be that one that God picked up and said, "You're the one for her because you were a widow. I gave you a widow before, and you took very good care of her until she passed, and I'm going to give you another opportunity." See, that's a divine intervention. There's nothing less than with 5,667 miles away, a 5 or 6 hour time zone difference. We connected and we communicated and we became friends. But there was a purpose, there was a meaning behind it, and here we are. I mean, I'm just laying it out. Here we
Yeah.
are. Um,
And I think it's important on this piece to let people know, like, um when God speaks to you, um like, pay attention. God told me back in 2019. Like I said, my husband at that time died Christmas Eve 2018, and when God told me in 2019, you will be married again, I was like, oh, hell no. I've been there, done that 2 times now. Like, no, I don't think so. And when he speaks, you listen. And so I knew at that time I need to do work. If this is where God is taking me, I've got work to do on myself. And so I actually started praying for my dear future husband. I actually started asking God, like, please guide this. And let's be honest, when we talk about wants and needs, guys, if I wasn't open to truly trusting what I know God had planned for me, would I have double taken a look at somebody almost 20 years older than me? No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have even thought that that was a part of it. And so that's why I love the fact that I knew before Charles did. You're my dear future husband, dude, and you don't even know it yet.
no, and again, widow and widower. We were both widow and widow, and two for me and two for her. I'm. This is now my third marriage. This is now her third marriage. There was just so many things in common. But I got to tell you, the number one thing that I made clear, because I've had a little bit longer journey than Elena, and I've gone through my ups and downs and my ins and outs, and I gave my doubts. I was suicidal at one time. Uh, it runs in my family. Uh, I told her in the very beginning, communication is very, very important. Whether it's in a relationship, whether it's with God, whether it's in your job, whatever, communication is very important. And I told her in the very beginning that if we can't talk, I walk. And we to this day make sure that we don't hold anything back. If we've got something to say, we say it, and we also make sure that we spend time, whether it's before eating a meal or just in general, talk about we as a family, as a husband and wife, put our God, who I choose, my Creator, who I choose to call God. Hers is her God. Uh, we put Him first, and we put Him in our life. Why? Because two people in need from so far away, God found a way to put us together. And again, that's a divine intervention. That's God's work.
Yeah, and I want to share too, in the surrender, okay? Like surrender pops up in your life in so many different scenarios and circumstances. But for me, I still struggle with not of communication, of talking. Why? Because I revert to my shell. I handle it. I got it. I'll figure it out. And that's it's my defense mode. I was so hurt in my past, and God knew that it was going to take someone stronger that could handle me at my worst and be gentle to help me evolve and grow. And so my message through this message is God does know what you need. And are you willing to go through the process because he's helping you become who he knows you can be. And he knows that I don't need to be that damaged girl in defense with my guard up all the time. He knows that I've got greater purpose here, that wouldn't be able to breathe if I'm fearful and hiding. And so it's amazing at how much greater things can be when you actually receive what God has for you instead of what you think is best. And that's a huge part of surrender.
You know, back to her dear future husband. I read all of this. There's 24 of them. I still have them in my tablet, and every once in a while I will go back and I'll read them. In many of those, I look at them and I went, "Wow, I'm a very lucky man because I'm the one." And again, she had it all up on her whatever you call that pictures and stuff. What do you call that, Elena? And then I was like a blank face.
Oh, my focus board?
Yeah, her focus board, and many times, one particular time, she made it quite clear that if you don't love God, or if you don't put God first, then don't even think about it. Well, you see, here's my thing: is that because I almost died in 2022. Uh, Again, not going to get into the depth of it, but I almost died. I missed my my significant other that was given back to me 33 years after we were childhood teenagers, parents. Life took us in different directions, and 33 years later, he gave her back to me, and she was a widow. So again, she Elena made it quite clear that if you don't put God first, and I did, because I surrendered when I had a really bad time where I almost died. Uh, I got really sick. I got depressed. I was suicidal. I actually heard voices telling me I could ease your pain. And so for me to be where I'm at today, again, I'll repeat it over and over. That's God's work. God's moment. He says, this is your need. This is your need. And now I want you two to live happily ever after as husband and wife. And here we are.
Yeah. There we go. So this has been an amazing, amazing experience. And what do we got? Yeah, David said, praise God. Um, you know, for those of you, and I'm just going to speak to the singles. Okay. I'm going to speak to the singles out there. God has always given me the topics to discuss. So even when Michael Faber said earlier, like, I'm just on here like some reporter, well, he might have not said reporter, but I'm very comfortable sparking up conversations through platforms like this, right? And he brought up a question that that for me was, what if we looked at relationships as opportunity versus obligation? So when you're in your relationship and you're like, oh my God, I got to do this again, or oh my gosh, now they need me to do this. What if you looked at it as opportunity instead of obligation? And I have the gift of seeing that, knowing that I lost a spouse, like you could be here this morning, you can be gone by lunch. And I posed that question. And I wanted to talk about the hot mess relationships we're in for those of us in our 40s and our 50s. And I put a panel discussion out. I put a question out and said, who wants to come on this, conversation? And do you know we had like over 30 people that were like, we definitely want to talk about this. Only 10 could show up because of the day and the time, but that tells you that relationships are in a hot mess, right? Especially in our age bracket. Well, Charles popped in with his comment of, well, what about us in our 60s? And I remember going like, oh, shoot, well, go on with your dang self if you're in your 60s and you got it going on. Like I'm like, sure, come on, talk about it.
She
But
felt the energy.
yeah, yeah, I felt the energy that I knew God like was just positioning him. Like I remember telling my sister in Texas when my cousin died, I'm like, there's something about this guy and I don't know what it is. But here's the thing. I also knew God was preparing me for my dear future husband. So I didn't waste time with someone that I knew that it wasn't. Okay. I didn't know who it was, but I never entertained all kinds of people just to pass time until I waited. That would have possibly prevented me from actually being open to him when he arrived. And some people want to just fill the gap in quickly just because. Do the work. Stay true to what God is doing. Like it was easy for me to identify you are not the one. So let's not waste each other's time and let's just because I may have missed what God truly had for me. And that's not just in relationship, but that's the message for everyone. Sometimes we want to fill in what we want now. And by doing that, sometimes you can miss what God actually has prepared for you because it's his timing, not ours. And that's, you're there.
You see me write. You see me writing things down, right? This is lessons that uh, she had mentioned earlier in this event, the surrender to rise with all of you amazing. See, there's so many people have been hit with nobody wants to hear your story. I've got my own. Shut up. Well, that's not where this is at. See, when you surrender, you rise above all of that, and that's where we're at right now. So, Elaine, I want to tell you thank you so much for spending the time. You are amazing, not just because you're my wife. God is good every day, but you see the lessons that we learn in the journey that He gave us when He gave us life. He gave us the hourglass. Elena mentioned that earlier, and it's a true story. But in that journey, sometimes we take paths in different directions. We go off course. Okay. So when we go off course, we learn that we are supposed to get back on course. But while we're off course, those lessons that we've learned allows us to become the person that we are now. And so every single one of us, those that came before me, that told your stories, there's a purpose for it. Those lessons that you learned, whether they were hard or they were beautiful or they all had a purpose within your journey. And our God knows this. This is why he gave us this day. It came through Elena. She mentioned something to me. I said, you know what? Do it. I even had a couple inserts in there that she jumped on to because that's what we do as partners. We talk and we share and we stand by, we support each other as I'm doing right now. But know this, those lessons, Tish, yours was amazing. All of the ones that were before me had amazing stories of things that happened to them. I want to go back to I was a street child. I was arrested at 7 years old for a robbery because I was under peer pressure of my cousins. I'm a street child. Okay. Those are all lessons that we have had come before us to who we are today. And that allows us to share those messages with those that are in need. See, they didn't come on. They may have, and we've got over 500 views today. They may have wanted something, but their need was much greater. And for us to be able to tell the stories, they needed to hear that. So if anybody ever tells you again, shut up, I got my own stories, I don't want to hear yours, let that be a force that propels you, because that's God saying, oh, no, 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 no. You surrendered, okay? And you need to rise to the occasion to help those that need to come beside us for a better future, for a loving uh, understanding of what the true meaning of God's love is. So, I can babble, babble, babble for days, but I do know, as some of you may or may not, I am Coach Chuck, your locker room coach in this game of life, and I speak quite a bit, but I speak like a coach. Like if I was coaching somebody up, that's just who I am. So the message I know came through me because I keep writing stuff down all the time. I write it down. Look, I just write stuff down all the time. That's my playbook. When it comes time to me actually getting out there and playing, none of that matters because that was what was, and this is what is. So all of you today that spilled your love for God and gave that to us, thank you so much because it was meant to happen.
Yay.